Meet Johnny. At least, that's what he used to call himself. These days, he was just a man in a sea of faces, feeling invisible. He lived in a small, crumbling apartment on the edge of town, surviving on scraps and whatever he could scrape together from his meager earnings. Each day felt like a struggle, each step forward a fight against the tide. But today felt different. Johnny had made a decision. He was tired of fighting, tired of living with nothing. He'd convinced himself that he was too poor, too insignificant to deserve a life. There was no way out. So, he thought, if he couldn't be rich in things, maybe he could find peace in giving up altogether. As he peeled his last piece of banana, the only thing he had left, he thought, this is it, the end, with one final bite. Johnny thought he'd leave this world behind, but little did he know. The universe had other plans. Enter the curious character of our story, a man who, despite his own ragged appearance, was still full of life and, oddly, hunger. The man noticed Johnny's discarded banana peel, looked around like he was checking for an audience, and then did the most unexpected thing. He ate the banana peel. Without hesitation, no shame, just pure, unfiltered hunger. And not just any hunger, the kind that comes from someone who had learned to make do with what life gave them, no matter how small or strange. Johnny opens his eyes in disbelief, watching the man chew on the banana peel as if it were the finest delicacy. Johnny blinked. Once, twice. He couldn't believe it. Was this man really eating the peel? The same peel he had tossed aside like it was worthless. Johnny's mind raced, a mix of confusion, disgust, and, if he was being honest, a tiny bit of admiration. Hey, buddy, you wouldn't believe how good this peel tastes, right? It's like full of nutrients. Who knew? You should try it sometime. Waste not, want not. You see, Johnny had been convinced that his life had no value because he didn't have money, didn't have success, didn't have, well, anything. He had built a wall around himself that said, I'm too poor to be happy. But this man, he'd found joy, purpose, and even nutrition in something Johnny had tossed aside without a second thought. And that, in that simple moment, was a life-changing lesson. Johnny sat there in stunned silence. The man didn't have riches. He didn't have anything extraordinary. What he had was a mindset that said, what I have is enough. And in that moment, Johnny realized something crucial. The value of life isn't defined by how much you possess, but by how much you're willing to appreciate. No matter how small or insignificant it may seem, take care of yourself, brother. You'll be surprised how much life can offer if you learn to look at the world differently. Johnny was left with a strange feeling inside, part confusion, part awe. It was as if a veil had lifted for the first time in a long time. He saw the world a little differently. He didn't feel the same weight of despair. No, something had changed. The same world, the same struggles, but a different perspective. Johnny started paying attention to life's small wonders. He no longer ignored the little moments, the fleeting things that had always seemed unimportant. He noticed a flower growing between the cracks in the pavement and thought, if that little flower can grow in the toughest of conditions, maybe I can too. He saw people smiling at each other, sharing jokes, even without much to their names. And he realized happiness was contagious. Johnny started helping where he could, not because he had everything to give, but because he had something far more important: the will to make life better, not just for himself, but for others too. He began volunteering at the local shelter, sharing stories with the elderly, helping people in need. Even if it was just a smile or a kind word, he was discovering a new kind of wealth. The wealth of kindness, of connection, of feeling like he mattered. And slowly but surely, Johnny's life began to change. He found a job at a small cafe, serving coffee and making sandwiches. It wasn't much, but it was enough. Enough for him to pay his bills, enough for him to have a roof over his head, and most importantly, enough to live with purpose again. But it wasn't the job that made him feel fulfilled. It was the way he approached life now. Johnny had become a force for good in his community. He learned that life wasn't about waiting for things to change. It was about taking action, no matter how small. It was about seeing possibilities where others saw obstacles. It was about choosing to see value in the people, the places, and the moments that others ignored. And it wasn't about having more. It was about having enough. Enough gratitude, enough kindness, enough joy to share with the world. Johnny had learned that life didn't owe him anything. But if he was willing to make the most of it, life would give him back more than he could ever imagine. Johnny sat in the same city that once made him feel invisible. But now he felt like he belonged. He looked out at the glowing sky, and for the first time in what felt like forever, he didn't feel like time was slipping away. He felt like every second mattered. But life has a funny way of testing us. Just when we start to feel stable, it throws a curveball. And for Johnny, that moment came 3 days later. The fire started in the apartment below his. A forgotten stove, a spark. Within minutes, the entire building was engulfed. Johnny lost everything: his clothes, his few belongings, even the journal he had started writing in just a few weeks ago. He didn't cry. Not because he wasn't heartbroken, but because something had changed inside him. The old Johnny might have seen this as the final blow. But this Johnny, he took a deep breath and walked forward. The local shelter offered him a temporary place to stay. And when his co-workers found out, they rallied around him, offering clothes, food, even some cash. For someone who had once felt utterly alone, it was overwhelming. It wasn't the material things that moved him. It was the kindness, the sheer unexpected kindness. He realized life was like a mirror. The more good he put into it, the more it gave back. That's when Johnny made a decision. He was going to rebuild not just his own life, but the lives of those who felt lost like he once had. He started organizing small food drives. At first, it was just a cooler and a fold-out table. Then more people joined in, and in time, it grew into something beautiful. Meet Johnny, a once homeless man now feeding over 100 people every weekend. His movement, called the Enough Project, is spreading hope one meal at a time. He called it the Enough Project because he wanted people to know you didn't have to be rich to make a difference. You just needed to care, to believe, to act. Kids started reaching out from other neighborhoods. They wanted to help. Johnny began holding late-night video calls, sharing ideas, stories, strategies. He wasn't just helping his city. He was inspiring others to do the same. One morning, he returned to that old curb, the same spot where he once sat, clutching a bruised banana, ready to give up. He sat in silence, soaking it all in. And then, as if scripted by the universe itself, he saw him. Yes, him, the Peel Eater, the unexpected prophet of hope. The man who, in one strange, hungry act, had shaken Johnny's entire worldview. And for the next hour, they walked together. Two men who had once had nothing, now walking in a city they had helped to change, one smile at a time. Don't wait for someone to save you. Be the person who saves someone else, even if it's just with a smile or a banana peel. So if you ever feel like you're too poor to live, remember Johnny. Remember that sometimes the key to unlocking a better life isn't found in what we're missing, but in what we're willing to make of what we already have. Whether it's a banana peel or a small moment of kindness, the value of life isn't in the things we own. It's in the way we choose to see the world and the way we choose to live in it. Life isn't about what you have, but what you're willing to make of what you have.